I've forgotten how to do one of these.
Yeah, well, I don't think we ever knew how to do one.
No, but we had a rough idea, and I feel like I think it's been too long of a gap now that it's now having to jog my memory into how to do one of these. I'm not even sure if we're like even recording, so this could be a complete gamble.
I was thinking you could use this content.
If you are listening to this, then I've managed to hit record.
That's step 1 done.
There we go.
Step 2, cold open. I think we've done step 2 already.
Hey there,
And welcome to the TableTop Boardcast.
a board game podcast where two friends get together and play a game
Or 2. Join us at the tabletop.
for the TableTop Boardcast. Hello and welcome back to the first episode of the Tabletop Boardcast of the year that is 2023.
2023. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, new year. I'm here with Keenan as per usual. We've changed the name. I finally gave in to Keenan.
Called it a boardcast, which is what it always should have been. That is the most perfect marketing.
It is, however, I feel like we went on a bit of a journey, and it's the journey that matters, not necessarily the end. It's how you get there.
That might be the case for some people, but I only care about the end.
Yeah, we got some new artwork, which we've upgraded from a shelf to a bookcase in IKEA.
Yeah, it's all coming together. Piece by piece, shelf by shelf, book by book, board game by board game.
I think it's time for us to start the episode proper and get into the ball game that we're looking at.
Let's get into it. Board games today. We are going to be looking at a fun little detective whodunit mystery extravaganza. I love that word. I'm going to keep using it. That's going to be my word of the year. Last year was broadcast. This year extravaganza.
It's quite early to have a word of the year. I mean, you're literally dedicating yourself to 12 months of using that word.
Yeah, well, I got to coin it early on, haven't I?
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, so we're going to be looking at the Micro Macro Crime City series. I think there's currently 3 games in the series, designed by Johannes Sick. I think that's right. Maybe it's Seich. I don't really know. I'm pretty sure it's Sick.
It looks
We're gonna
correct.
Go with that.
That's what I'll say.
Yeah, let's go with that. And it was published by Edition Spiele. I think in this episode we'll probably focus on the 2 latest ones, which are Full House and All In, mainly because we don't actually own the original. They don't own the first one, but it is exactly the same. It's just different cases. So
yeah, so we're going to take a trip down to Crime City, where surprisingly a lot of crime happens. So Micro Macro, the first edition came out in, do you know what year, Keenan?
2020,
And I believe the most recent iteration, the third case of it, came out last year. So, to begin with, a board game you would normally consist of a board. There is no board with this one. So does it make it a board game? That's the big question we're asking today, people.
we are really getting into the PC of board games here, aren't we? Yeah. No. So with Micro Macro, you get a rather large sheet, of paper.
A map.
A map. You could call it a map. I would. A sheet of map.
A sheet of map.
That's what I'd call it. A large sheet map. And on this map is a very sort of Where's Wally style graphic. It's like a black and white doodle cityscape. That's how I describe the big map that you get with these games.
The way how I would describe it is, where's Wally? But you're not just looking for Wally, you're looking at a crime and how it happened. And you could be looking for other things as well.
Yeah, each case is different. There might be a murder, there might be a robbery, there might be some sort of scandal. The cases are so diverse and varied. It makes for quite a compelling story, actually, following the case through. With the base game, you get 16 cases to solve. One of them is an introductory case, which will basically run you through the game and how it plays. I think it says it kind of encourages you to play how you want to play. You can either play with the case cards, which will sort of give you pointers and hints of sort of what to look for, or you can play without them and just sort of use your own intuition to try and solve the case. But I think we'd probably both say that it's better to follow the cards, because some of the cases are a bit ludicrous and it's very easy to get lost. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly, because it is a very big map, and If you've looked on our Instagram account, then you would have seen a screenshot of just part of the map, and there was a lot going on, and it's all in black and white, as Keenan elaborated earlier. So it's easy to look at a load of different details but get lost in it at the same time. What is in the box? So you get 16 cases, as Keenan mentioned, or technically it's 17 because there's a case on the front of the box.
Oh yeah, true. Who murdered the ice cream vendor?
Or on the 3rd edition, Micro Macro Crime City All In, who murdered the hot dog vendor? Basically, don't be a fender in this city. That's what we're saying.
No, you're probably going to be murdered. And you get 16 sleeves, so you can protect the cases. You put them in a nice little sleeve, keep them all grease-proof, that sort of thing. You get one rather large cityscape map thing, and then you also get a magnifying glass. Oh, and the instruction book. It gives you an instruction book as well.
Right. What's going to happen now is I am going to talk through the introductory case that comes with the 3rd instalment of Micro Macro Crime City All In. So if you don't want to know how this case is played and spoilers, then I'm going to sound the spoiler alarm for you now. There we go. So if you're still with us, then you're going to find out. And while I'm here, I'm also going to speak about how the cases actually work. So when you open the box, you get a deck and you sort them into the cases. And each case looks like the following. So there will always be a white card at the start that will have the title of the case. And in the top right of that card will give you the number of how many cards are associated with that case. So for the introductory case, there are 5 cards. Now this doesn't apply to the introductory case, but with all the other cases, there is a 5-star rating system, and that tells you how difficult the case is going to be. So if it's a 1-star, it's quite easy. If it's 5 stars, it's quite a difficult case. And then on the back of the first card, it will give you a scenario of what's happening in Crime City and what case you need to solve. So, like I say, we're going to do the introductory case that is titled The Bobble Hat. So if I turn over the start card, it tells me, Fernando was just at the donut shop opposite the racecourse. When he stopped there, he noticed that his beloved bobble hat had disappeared. And that's the card. You also get an image of Fernando. This will be different on different cases, obviously. So some cases might have an image of an item, or a person that's related to that thing, or a building, depending on how the case begins. Once you've read that one, we then go to the next card. Now all of the cards that precede the start card will be black, and on one side it will just have a question or a statement. So for this one, the first one is, find Fernando at the donut shop. So you would get the map, get the magnifying glass, and you go looking for the donut shop, and at the donut shop you find Fernando. Now when you think you have solved that part of the case, and you have found Fernando, then you would turn over the card. And when you turn over the card, it gives you a few things. It gives you the correct grid reference for the answer. So in this instance, the donut shop is within grid reference K8 on the map. And it gives you an image of what you should be able to see. And it will give you a statement of what's happened. So we had to find Fernando at the donut shop, and we have found the donut shop. So it says, very good. Fernando is standing there wondering how his bobble hat disappeared. He knew it was still on his head when he was outside the hospital. He knows that for sure. And that's that card done. So then you move on to the next card, card 3. So this one says, find Fernando at the hospital. So now you've got to find the hospital, and then you've got to find Fernando at the hospital. Again, once you think you've done that, turn over, check you're correct. So in this instance, the hospital is within grid K7, and it says, this is the hospital. You can see Fernando making his way from here. He still had the hat on his head at this point. So what you'll notice is that different scenes on the city map show different times during the course of the story. Now this is when the next card comes in. Card 4 states, what happened in between? How did the hat get lost? Well, this is where you use the unique feature of this game, and you have to try and backtrack and work out where Fernando went on his journey and what happened to the hat. The answer was in grid K7, and it's the crime scene. This is where it happened. 2 rascals shot the bobble hat off the top of his head. And that's pretty much how Micro Macro works. I'm not going to carry on and tell you exactly how this case unfolds. I'll leave that for you to do. But as you can tell, it's fairly simple, whereby you just get a case, start with the first card, try and find what you need to find, check on the back of the card, go to the second card, and then you carry on until you finish with that case. So that's how you play the game. What do we like about this game, Keenan? I think it's safe to say we both really like the map.
Yeah, what I find really interesting about this game is that the city map, it serves as a map that's not only in space, it's not only like a typical Where's Wally of everyone in this one large space. It serves as a map in time as well, because you the idea is you're supposed to follow characters along, so you can sort of that's how you gain information and evidence to solve the crime that's taken place. You follow them back in time. It's quite cleverly done if you consider that everyone has like a unique look, a unique car. The buildings are all unique, which really makes for this like incredible sort of it's almost like an art piece, really. We've both, me and David have both said that, you know, if we get a nice office one day, we'd love to have that as like our background. Just the whole micro and macro map.
It is a big map, and I guess that's why it recommends only 1 to 4 players, because if you have more than 4, it's suddenly going to get really crowded and you're going to be fighting to have a look at the same area on the map. See, one thing that I think works quite well in this game is, although it's about cases and their storylines throughout each case, some of them will intertwine with each other. You don't necessarily have to start with the easiest case and make your way through them one by one. You are invited to pick and choose which case you want to do, whether that's based on how it looks. The name of the case itself could be quite appealing to you, a bit mysterious maybe. It's like I said at the beginning, it's basically Where's Wally, but solving a crime.
One of the many strengths of this game is like the narrative throughout it. It's just a bit of fun. There's always fun stories. They are some of the topics can be quite sensitive. It does follow things like murder, it does follow things like harassment, but other cases like poor old Fernando losing his bubble hat, good bit of fun.
Yeah, and I think the developers have taken that feedback on board, especially as you said, there are different themes that come up within this game that might be not suitable for people, or some people might feel uncomfortable doing, especially parents when wanting to play this game with their children perhaps. So I believe with the 3rd instalment of the game, Crime City All In, well, I say believe, I can actually see it because it's in front of me. They have introduced this new feature whereby they have categorised the cases depending on what it covers, and they have given them some symbols so parents can see a particular symbol and quickly assess what that case could potentially involve. So I believe there's 3 symbols. The first one is a happy bunny, and that basically says there are no depictions of murder, physical violence, or sexuality. Then there's one that it's got a bunny which is like got glasses. It basically looks like Arthur from the kids show Arthur, which says this case contains depictions of accidents, murders, and corpses along with the circumstances surrounding the death. And then there's a third one that's basically a bunny with an eye patch with one ear folded over. I'm not entirely sure why, but there we go. And that's basically them recommending that the parents play through it first before deciding whether they want their children to. So like I say, I believe they have taken feedback on board, because I believe that was a slight criticism with the 1st and 2nd instalment. But it's good to see that they're listening. Now, another thing that I like about the game is it's very easy to understand. People know what it is.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a really fun and simple concept. It takes the whole sort of looking at an image, trying to find X character, like Where's Wally, whatever you call that genre of game. It takes that concept and adds a really fun twist to it of the whole whodunit thing.
Yeah, and they haven't deliberately overcomplicated it, which could have easily done. Hence why it's black and white. It's just a fun cartoon map of a whole city. It's not overcomplicated.
Yeah, which leads into something that I was going to say. One of the things I like about the game is that the art style, it's so simplistic in nature, but it's so good. The black and white, the little doodling.
Yeah, it's like a cartoon art style, which I would imagine is their way of getting around being able to depict murders and death in this crime city game without making it too graphic.
It's fun, it's quirky, it looks professional. It looks really well made. It looks like the designers really sat there and thought about it. And they thought about every individual scene, and it works. There's very little clashing. Everything, as I said, is unique, has its own little thing. Brilliant. And also, you can add the cityscapes to each other. Can't you? They combine and make one large city.
Exactly, and another neat trick is if you do put the maps together, then you will find certain characters appear on multiple maps from the different expansions. And this allows you to discover new cases to solve, because those cases only come to light when you follow the characters and track their movements across each map.
Is that right?
Yeah, that is actually a thing.
Is that? That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have to do that. So the fact that they have thought about that, and you can play this game standalone, or you can get all the others and put them together, and it creates more cases for you, hidden Easter eggs, and that's a really good thing about the game.
Yeah, there's an element of overlap. I didn't know that. That's really cool. I knew you could connect them together, but I didn't know there was like overlapping characters.
Yeah,
that's fun.
Yeah, there's like hidden.
Very well thought out.
Yeah, there's like hidden crimes that you can discover just by following them. So again, it entices you to keep going back. Saying that though, the only downside is once you've done the cases in the box, you know how to solve them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that might be one of its only weaknesses. It is one of those things where once you've done it once, you've done it. You can't really go back and do it. I guess if you waited, you give yourself a year to then go back and play it, you've probably forgotten where everything was on the map. But the sort of the fun quirk of the case is figuring out why something happened, and it depicting you that scene, that image. And you'd probably remember that. But I think that's where an element of sort of like party comes into it. Because you can invite your friends around, you can whip this game out, and even though you may have already played the cases, you can very easily sort of be like a host to your friends and get them to run through the case. You can read it aloud to them, you can run them through and see if they can find it. So I think there is a sort of, there's the opportunity there to sort of adapt the game and get more playability out of it.
Yeah, like you could almost create like an evening of it and have people be split up into different teams, and give each one a different case to solve, and whoever solves it fastest wins.
Yeah, for sure.
And they have to sort of explain their reasonings and their steps along the way, and then you can check if they're correct or not by checking if it's the right answer on the back of the card.
Yeah, for sure. And I, you know, there isn't really a player limit. I know it says, you know, up to 4, so you're not getting crowded, but I think there's so much option for versatility there.
Another good thing, you don't need to buy all 3 to play the game. Each installment can be its own installment.
They're their own game. They work on their own, but they also don't add or improve anything on the previous. It was just it's like a golden formula, and it works well. There's, as I said, there's 3 installments and it works.
But I can also imagine that this type of game takes ages to develop, and everything is meticulously planned out. I imagine it takes a year, say. Hence why probably each expansion takes which might explain why they happen to come out yearly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, I imagine.
And you've got to give credit to the designer for that, putting in that much thought into every micro detail. Literally, micro, macro. Every micro detail is thought about.
How would you improve it, though?
As it stands, the game itself, as I said before, is a golden formula. It works. It works well, and you can continue to add to that. You can just make another map, make new cases. You continue to add to that. I think where it can improve is by doing something, say, developing an app, and making...
Almost like... I know what you're saying. So this might be a niche reference, but if anyone listening has ever played the Professor Layton series, you buy the game, it comes with puzzles, right? They used to do a thing whereby every game you could get a new puzzle downloaded onto your Nintendo DS for 365 days of the year. I think this game, as you're quite rightly, I assume you're indicating, they could bring out an app and they could update it with new cases to keep you replaying it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, I think that's definitely what I'm trying to say. Like, there's so much versatility there. The formula works. You can apply that formula. You can take from the physical board game and apply it online. And that might even add like a level of immediacy, because once you get a map going, you can just upload that, publish it, and you're done. I guess the issue is you'd have to plan so many cases at a time, because you can't just add drawings to an existing map, even on an app. No,
but I think that's why it takes roughly a year for each one to come out.
Yeah, but I think there is. I could see that working if it was online or was an app or something like that.
I wonder if they could do an online version where multiple people can log on to like the same map, Like, you could get like a lobby going, and then you could all look at the same map, and you could all try and solve the case. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, kind of. I feel like it'd be very similar to, like, do you remember that when there was that massive cube thing? Or no, was it people like mining at it? Those
Yes,
huge cube people mining to
yeah.
get into the middle,
Yeah.
and like everyone on the internet was doing it.
Yeah.
To try and get to the middle of this giant cube thing. I feel like it could be like that. Like, it is a simple concept that I think can be applied to so many things, and I think, I hope one day they go into that sort of region and expand it into that.
I've just looked at the instructions, and on the back it says, solved all the cases. We recommend hanging the city map on your wall in your home as a poster. But then it also says, while you are waiting, you can pass the time by finding and solving a few additional puzzles that are hidden. For example, what did Boris ruin the day for this time? Street artist Joe was spotted working near the playground on his east side of town. How much graffiti did he leave across the town on his way home?
Oh, that's kind of fun.
So even in the instructions, there's like 3 additional cases there. And I believe if you go on the website, there are some listed cases as well, like additional ones.
Oh, well, if you'd have told me that, I wouldn't have said about making an app.
Well, I think they've been the same since the first one came out, to be honest. So I'll kick things off by saying I recommend this game because, I personally love a whodunit anyway, but I love crime-solving games.
We all love a little bit of a whodunit, don't we? Cluedo, everyone's played Cluedo. It's Cluedo but better. It's nothing like Cluedo.
You heard it here first. Cluedo, but better.
It's nothing like Cluedo, I take that back.
Okay.
Yeah, is there anything that you would say to improve the game, or?
Only minor things, like I mentioned about maybe including more magnifying glasses, just so more people can be looking at the same time without squinting and fighting for room. I wouldn't even say add more cases, because 16's quite a lot of cases. Like, especially when they vary from, some of them have only got like 5 cards. Like the later ones have like 12. But yeah, I just personally and selfishly wish more came out. Which I know is difficult to do because it probably takes a long time to come up with and plan. But that's just me being selfish and wanting to solve more cases.
Hey, macro guys, if you need a hand, just reach out to us.
Maybe there could be like a Super Mario Maker thing whereby you can make your own one.
I have like the the black and white characters as like sprites or something.
Yeah, like you make your own, you make your own character, and then you can.
That would open up the game entirely, wouldn't it? I think people would get so creative with that.
Yeah,
making if you made a map yourself.
So on the whole, we both recommend this game.
And there you have it. That was our first episode of the Tabletop Boardcast 2023. How you feeling, David?
Well, officially, that is the first official episode of the Tabletop Boardcast. Period.
I sure had a jolly good time, and I hope all of you at home listening did too.
So we're going to go and quickly solve another case, because Crime City needs us to do some detective work.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening, everyone at home, or wherever you are listening to this, in your car. I don't know where you are, but thank you for listening nonetheless. You can follow us on Instagram at the Tabletop Boardcast, and be sure to follow us on your podcast platform of choice. What are we recording, David? What's the episode? What's the next episode?
We'll be recording a broadcast about a board game that we are yet to find out which one we're going to be looking at. But that's why you should stick to the socials to find out which one it is.
I agree. Take that advice. All right. Thank you. Bye.